Cool. All right, so just going through basic login and registration. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new Rails project. Rails new login reg. Cool. I'm gonna cd into that and open it up in my text editor. Cool. So I think I might be using using my Rails console later. So I'm just gonna gem install Herb just in case I need him. If I don't, that's okay. Do you guys see that this gem bcrypt right here also underneath? I'm just gonna unhash that and then save it so that I can use bcrypt. It may come defaults in your when you create a new Rails project, just hashed out so that you can just unhash it, or you may have to just copy and paste it from. Okay, good. Cool. Cool. So after updating my gem file, what's my next step? Bundle install. What does bundle install do? Cool. So anytime I adjust my gem file, I should be running bundle install, right? We're adding new gems, right? Cool. So now I'm using Herb, as you guys can see right here, which is great. Nice. So let's go back to my text editor. I'm done with my gem file. I'm going to need to create what model if I'm dealing with login and registration. Yeah, users, right? So Rails, what can I do here? G, model, user singular? Okay.
Do you want to do first name or just name?
Yeah, let's do first name. It's always better to keep them separated. First name. Do I need a comma here? No?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no.
No, you're right. No. Last name. Yeah, it'll default to string. Last name. Maybe we can do an email. And then password. What's the argument or the type that we pass into password? Like we could have done email string, right? And like age integer, right? I'm not going to store my age. So what do I pass into password here?
For bcrypt, password digest.
Digest, right? So now we're going to be using bcrypt. So it's going to do a couple of things, which we'll see, but just keep in mind that you're going to want to pass, or you're going to want to attach digest as kind of like the type of password. Does that sound good?
Does it matter if you do password underscore digest?
What's that?
Does it matter if you do password underscore digest?
That's what it'll be saved as in your database, but bcrypt will do that for you. So just make sure you do password : digest.
Yeah, because I think I did password colon password underscore digest.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the same thing.
I'll take a look. Yeah. Cool. All right, looks good. So it created a migration file where we're creating our users. It created a models folder, which we'll be taking a look at, and then some test files, sure. But let's take a look at our folder structure now. So if I go into DB, oh, what do I need to run to actually create my table? Rake DB migrate. Cool. So now there's my schema. You can see that it's being stored under a table column called password digest. Right? It's just going to be a string though. We'll get into that more later. And then if we open up our app and look in our models folder in the user.rb folder that we created, you'll see that it has this little method automatically generated for us, has a secure password, and that's what's going to allow us to hash our passwords as we save them. Cool. Any questions so far? I'll make this bigger.
Yeah.
Everyone good so far? Cool. So can we add some validations so that we can maybe flash some messages if the user inputs bad data? How can we do that? Validates. Yeah?
So first name, last name.
With like this?
Yeah.
First name, I like to separate them, validating one particular thing with multiple validations at a time. So validates first name, presence, true. Is it true like this? Do I need a colon here? I forget the syntax.
Wasn't it like an equals with an arrow, or is it? No, that's right.
Is this right? Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So validates last name, presence, true. What else do I need to validate? Email, presence, true. What other validations do I need?
And your password only on create.
Only on create, yeah. I probably want to validate whether or not my emails matches some type of regex pattern, right? Cool. I'm not gonna. Does anyone have that regex pattern memorized?
Yeah.
All those going cheats.
It ends in I.
Yeah. Brian, you do?
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
Just because it's really said, I haven't memorized it by, I didn't memorize it character by character, I memorized it essentially
By what the
content
pattern's
by
doing.
content. And because I know the content, I understand the basic format of the regex, I can build the regex straight from.
Nice.
Basically, the way I remember it is a password is any number of,
Where do I find it, guys?
any number of
Validation.
some things followed by
Ah, there it is. Can I do? Oops, I'm just gonna move this up here. And then I can do validates email, uniqueness, format with regex.
How do you put in custom messages with Flash?
This is not where we'll be working with Flash. Oh, like if you want them to be custom messages?
But doesn't this?
This, yeah, never mind. Sorry, I thought you were talking about something else. Like the Flash messages that it generates for you.
Yeah.
What am I looking for? View, toggle, something.
Because aren't there some defaults?
Yeah, these will be defaulted to specific ones. I remember doing it once when I was a student. I forget though. I'll try to look it up for you afterwards. So presence true, uniqueness, case sensitive false, format with cool. And then validates password on, how do you do this? Create? Like this? No, wait. On create?
Put presence on that too.
Yeah. Rails validate password on create. On create confirmation true. Okay. Cool. All right, I think that's enough validations for now. Do you guys get all the validations that went into here? These two are pretty easy, right? Just that they have to be there, right? Presence is true. Email one's a little bit more complicated, but we have this nice email regex pattern for you guys where it just matches to make sure that it's in valid email format. Chrome, I think, does that for you automatically, but this is extra safe in case people aren't using Chrome. Validates password is going to validate for what?
not every browser obeys the password.
That's why I said Chrome.
Yeah.
I'm going to limit you to your interruptions. If you guys can just answer kind of like what I'm going for so that the recording doesn't get too derailed, that would be great. So what is this password valid, or what am I validating for when it comes to my password column?
Presence.
Thank you. Presence.
Two occurrences are the same. Is that what confirmation does?
I think that might be checking for my password confirmation field just to make sure. So I don't have to do like an if check in my back end or in my controller to make sure that what they've typed in matches what they typed in. But cool.
Wait, is confirmation in the actual field and in the table? Or is it
No.
no?
No.
So that same go to where the field confirmation is at and just get out?
So if you have a password confirmation in your form, confirmation true will make sure that whatever is in your password confirmation field and your password field are the same.
Now, can you name that confirmation whatever you want, or does it have to be named confirmation?
It has to be named password underscore confirmation.
Okay.
Rails, or I mean, our what is it? Bcrypt makes it very simplified for you to hash passwords and stuff, as you guys are going to see in a sec. But it does have a certain rules that you have to play by. One of them is naming convention. So yeah, cool. All right, let's play around in our IRB to make sure that we're saving, or not our IRB, in our Ruby console, just to make sure that everything's working. So Rails C, going to herb.enable. Cool. So user.creates. What are my fields? Okay. Last name. Or email. Email is going to be Dan. Okay, and my password is going to be ASDF. Oops. My password confirmation is going to be cool. Do you guys see that? So I'm gonna highlight this line that I just created, right? Do you guys see this line? For my password, I listed it as ASDF. For my password confirmation, I listed it as the same, and Bcrypt matched those together and just stored them under my single column called password digest. And you can see here that this is not my password, it's just a jarbled mess of characters, right? User.password digest. That's how my password is actually being stored in my database. Pretty safe, right? Cool. So now I'm creating users successfully. Let's see if I can still allow to create a user unsuccessfully. So user equals user.create with no arguments. Great, I get a rollback. How can I check to see the error messages that rolled back?
User.errors.
User, what is user?
That's the variable you store in your
Perfect. It's just an arbitrary variable, right? Right, that I stored my user, or what my attempts to create a user in. So user.errors full messages. Nice. Password can't be blank. Password can't be blank. That should be the password confirmation. First name can't be blank. Last name can't be blank. Email can't be blank. Email is invalid. All that good stuff. Cool. Excellent. So now my validations are working. Let's try to create this in an HTML on the HTML page. So for that, I'm probably going to need a controller, right? So let's create a controller. How do I do that? Rails G controller. What should I name my controller? Is Lewis right that I should name it plural?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just gonna pass an index. What do you guys probably know? What is this gonna do? It's gonna generate. It's gonna create a method for me in my controller. Yeah, exactly. Index.html, right? Cool. So not only did it create my controller, let's check in my controllers, my users controller, great. Created a method, and in my views, in my users folder, there's also an index.html. Nice. So I'm just gonna create welcome to my login reg demo. Cool. So I'm going to go to my routes and set my root route so that when I go to localhost 3000, where is that in my config? Routes. Shift that forward. Cool. So I have my root route. It's going to my index. I also have just a standard get route that also goes to my index. Cool. Am I all set? Can I start my Rails server now and get my welcoming page?
Controller of it.
Just it's pretty empty looking controller. Do I need to add anything to this?
Just if you want your page.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm gonna Rails S. Oops. Cool. And then let's check it out. Localhost 3000. Perfect. Welcome to my login reg demo. I'm getting everything I want. So in order to test to make sure that my login registration is working, what do I need to do? Let's just work with registration. My next step. Tell me what to type, guys. My fingers are itching to type. Form. I need a form. Index. Cool. Form. Cool. What kind of input fields do I need in my form?
You need the authentication token.
Ooh, good check there. I always forget that. That's gonna be in controllers. 2. Okay, what else do I need? Cool. So input type is text, name, first name. Okay. Okay. I had last name, email, password validation, right? Last name, email, password, and remember you're going to want to follow naming convention here. Don't do anything like PW or PWConf. You're going to want to do password confirmation. Cool. Input, type, submit, value, register. Cool. I'm just going to put in a couple of p tags here so we know what we're dealing with. If you guys are typing along, I'm just going to take a quick pause here so that you guys can follow along. Just a standard form. I think I'm probably going to want this to be a post route. I'll get to my route in a second, but hopefully this looks like what we want it to look like. Ah, looks good. Cool. Any questions so far? This part's the easy part, right? Cool. How can I check to see if this, what's my next step? My what?
You gotta give it an action.
Ooh, I gotta give it an action. What should my action be?
Users.
/users. That's it?
We're probably the first page, right? Form.
What's that?
Are we keeping the form and like the login and the registration on the same page, or are we
Same page.
This should be the index, I guess.
Do I want my index route creating new users?
Well, if you want, so you're going to be following so this is where like I've been kind of confused and annoyed, but like following the convention of like RESTful routes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, so are you using resources in your routes, or you're just going to be creating your routes each time? Because like,
I'm gonna be creating my own custom routes, but they will be exactly the same as if I had done resources.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you guys can see it typed out exactly what resources does. So, following the conventions of RESTful routing, when I want to create something, what's my route going to be? Post
Slash post and then
You create.
slash users.
/ users. I think the /new users / new. You guys following? This will be the route that renders my
This page.
my page to create a new user. But I'm already on the page, so that's unnecessary, right? So users / create. We could do this.
Oh, I thought we were creating a user. We're logging in. That's right.
No, we are creating a new user. This is registration. But I think what you were thinking of was the actual method of create. So what I'm going to do is have a post route that's going to go from users, and it's going to point to my users. Nope. Users create. Right? Does that make sense? So you were right that we want to get to a create method within my users controller, but our route can just simply be /users because we're using a post. Cool. So let's give that a shot. Users, user / create. So then now I need a create method, right? I'm just gonna, for testing purposes, redirect this to my root route. How can I make sure to see my form is working?
For now, right?
Yeah, let's do that. Puts params : first name. Just see all of them. Last name, first name, email, password. Oh, sorry, you're right. Cool. Did they print out? Ah, they did. Nice. Do you guys know how to get rid of all this nonsense? And then set it to warn, right? Can I find that? I forget the exact syntax of it. Yeah. Sorry. So copy. Gonna go into config, environments, development. Just gonna add this line of code in there. Get rid of that. And now I shouldn't get all that mess. Oh, shoot. I don't think so. Yeah, now I just get what I need. Cool. Anyways, getting back on track. Now I want to actually create this user. What can I do?
So what I did was
You gotta.
I did user equals user.new, and then I was just passing all the variables.
Like this?
Yeah.
Just do like this? Cool. How do people feel about that?
Well, for the assignment that you have to do, it's better to do it that way than to create a private method.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're not going to worry about private methods now, but just creating this user.
And I would do if user.save, redirect or set a session, whatever, redirect
Okay.
it back to the profile page and not flash errors.
Sure. So you're just trying to catch the errors on save or on creation? Okay. That works for me.
So if you do .new instead of create, then if it's not,
Oops.
I don't really understand the difference because if it's not going to be saved to the database if it returns errors, right? So the second step for .new would be to save it via the .save. Or
Yeah,
.is.
if that's user dot save, so if it does save, I guess it returns true, like then you can just
Then
that block over the redirect.
yeah, you can redirect to the show page, or otherwise you redirect to the new page. But then it would be the same thing if you just did create, because aren't we going to be, and you could do instead of saying dot true or dot, what would be, you said dot save, you could say just whether or not the user is, like you could just do, like if you had dot create, you would still be able to say if user like exists, right? But just saying if user.
Yeah. So I think doing user.create might save us a step. Because if this throws us an error, if this command throws us an error, whatever it rolls back with will still be stored in user. If this doesn't create, or if there are no errors in here, then just the user will be stored in here. So something's going to be stored here through the create method either way. And better to just create it than to just create a new instance and then save it afterwards. So let's do user if user dot errors dot full messages dot empty. Else puts cool.
Does create returns an object? Does dot create return an object?
Yes. Returns this. Yep. So do you guys see what this if else end statement does? Yeah. Linnea, can you try to explain what my if statement's doing here?
You're just saying that if there are no error messages, then it's successful because everything was great, and it's not that something went wrong with the user.
Sure. This dot empty method is an array method, right? It's going to check to see if the array is empty. If it is empty, that means everything went great, which means success. If there's stuff in here, then this will evaluate to false, and then we'll have to go to our else statement, which means that there's probably some errors in my validation, right? So let's check it out. So if I try to register, oops, then I should hopefully see bad info. Try again. Maybe if I just do some, oh, I got another bad info. If I type in some good information, hopefully I get success. Cool? Nice. So instead of just printing success, oh shoot, did I actually create that person? I think I did. Let's see here. Oh man, I did. That's okay. Cool, so if everything goes well, then what should I do instead of just printing out success?
Store that into a session.
Yeah, you could store session. Do I need user.id like this? And then maybe redirect to like a success page, right? Just gonna call it success. I don't want to create a whole new RESTful routing for something that I'm going to use once. Which means Then in my routes, I'm going to point to
We
users.
can get points off. We create our own routes and develop, and they're not.
No. Cool. So I just want this to load a success page, that's all. I'm going to go to users, new file. Should probably name it success.html, right? So it matches my method name.
We don't have to put ERB in there.
No. H1 success. Oops. Cancel. Cool. So hopefully that works. Let's give it a shot. Should we create a new user for real? Let's do Mike. Oops. Bogdansky, M. Bogdansky, codingdojo.com, ASDF, 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 ASDF. Boom. Wet. Oh, I have 2 redirect statements. Dang it, let's save them though. Cool, let's create another one. Remember this guy?
Minute 8.
Cool, so I saved him successfully. No errors, saved him to my database, and I got to my success page. For you guys, probably it's going to be like the actual application of your exam, right? Whether it's like whatever application you're building, right? Cool, so registration works. Next piece, let's try to see if we can log someone in that we've created. So what else am I going to need? Maybe another form. Oh, actually, let's try to print out our validation. I totally forgot that. How can I do that?
Put in your application view, layout view.
Flash errors equals user.error.
So in my Flash, you want me to store my error messages? Like this? Okay, so then in my index.html, I can do something like if there are errors, right, then loop through them. Like this. Does that look good to you guys? Ooh, it's a lot of errors. Should we try? I don't know why they're showing up twice. We'll try to fix that later. But do you guys see how the confirmations didn't match? Do you guys remember me putting anywhere in my code, like checking to see if my password field or my password confirmation field matches or doesn't match?
It validates, yeah.
In my I didn't explicitly put that code anywhere, although I kind of did, right? It's this line right here. Cool? All right. Excellent. So now my Flash messages work. I'm saving my user to the database. Let's try logging someone in. What fields do I need for login? Email and password. This little chunk right here.
Your confirmation is read so you don't have like there.
What's that?
Just send that up there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Email, password. This is probably going to be login. My action is probably going to be what? Login works. There's no RESTful route for login. It's just for database operations. Login, cool. So, post, login. Does that look good? Post, login, users, pound, login. Does that look good? What can I do now, guys?
So try to find in your database a user that has the same email as the email that they're passing in.
The email that I'm passing in. Cool. Let's check to see if I'm even passing anything through. So again, I'm just going to redirect to my index route just for debugging purposes right now. I'm going to put params email and password just to make sure that it's going through. Does that make sense what I did there? So, oh, whoa, what did I just miss? Anyways, I think it was my calendar telling me to do something. Ah, every dang time. Okay. Oops. Nice. Looks like it's getting to my back end, which is great. Now, what did you say we need to do?
So look in the database for a
Okay.
user that has the same email as the one before.
Okay, how do I do that?
So user.find.
User equals user dot find
Parentheses.
parentheses
Params. Email.
like this. See if that works. It's saying that I couldn't find a user with an ID equal to my email. So it looks like this find statement only accepts.
Find by email.
There you go. So what is it? Finds by email like this? Okay, let's see if that works. It's a very nice, handy method we have there. Okay. Nice. Looks like I got a user back. Can even do user dot. What's the method that I can attach to check to inspect my? It's inspect. I give it away. Dan. So now instead of like just giving me this memory location, it actually shows me the contents of what's inside of it, which is great. So I know I'm getting back the right user. Cool. What's the next step?
Comparing passwords.
Huh?
Comparing passwords.
Ooh. Making sure that what the user typed in to log in actually matches what I have in the database. But what I have in the database looks like a bunch of hashed. It goes dot 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 because it goes on and on. Who knows what I can do to maybe check, maybe unhash my password in my database?
Impossible for others.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, oh, wait, you mean store it in the database, okay.
So who knows the method that comes with bcrypt and Rails that makes it very easy for us? Authenticate. So let's try that. User dot authenticate. What do I do here?
Would you want to grab the password in the form?
Let's check it out. So in my Rails console, right? The user equals user dot first. So now I have my user. So my user is just this first object, right? Cool. So if I do user dot authenticate and I put in here, that's not my password, is it? So it says false. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
But what if I actually pass in what my actual password was, which was I think this. It gives me back the actual object. Does that make sense? So dot authenticate is going to check a string to make sure that it matches the hashed version. Cool. So if user dot authenticate params password, then what?
Create a session.
What's that?
Create a session.
For what?
What?
For what?
The user.
The user,
User ID.
the ID. Perfect. Okay. User ID equals user dot ID. Just like we did up here, right? And then maybe we can log them in or redirect them to success. Just the same way. Else, that else meaning that our authenticate method with the password that they provided did not work, it returned false, then what?
Log the error. You got the.
Oh, store my errors in a flash message? Okay. Flash errors equals cool. I'm actually going to put this in an array. Cool. So why do you guys think that I wrapped my single error message in an array? Anyone take a guess?
It's not like one thing, it's just gonna be pointed from somewhere else and depends on what the error is.
I have one error,
Ah,
which is going to be invalid combination. So whether you provide a bad email, bad password, whatever the case is, the error message for a login is always going to be the same. It was invalid, right? But why? I have just one error message. Why do I put it in an array?
because the code that's on ramps is expecting it, right?
Because what's that?
Because your other code is expecting it, right? And it'll break if you don't.
That's exactly right. Can someone tell me what he means by that, though? My other code is expecting an array?
I'm guessing Flash expects an array.
No, not necessarily.
Validations. Maybe.
Yeah?
Validations expect an array the way it behaves when you have
No.
or is it decrypt? Or is it
It doesn't have to do with validations or bcrypt. It just has to do with the way that I structured my HTML, right? So, look here. I'm doing flash errors. I'm running a .each method on it, right? So if I just store a single string in there, it's going to try to run a .each method on a string, and it'll just break. Cool. So it's just a little small, little finicky thing that I ran into for like 45 minutes on an exam. So thought I might help you guys out on that. Cool. So let's see if it even works. Actually, log in. Ugh. Oh. So check this out. This is interesting. So if I put in like bad information, oh, okay. So let's say, sorry, if I put in kind of bad information, right, like the email, and I actually get back the email, but I mess up my password. Just trying to show you guys something. Right? But I just mess up my email or my password. I still get the error invalid combination, which is great, right? But why is it that if I put in an email that doesn't exist, I get an error? Or if I try to validate on nothing, I get an error?
Because user is not an object, that's not authenticated is a
Yeah, because the line above it right here, do you guys see that? I said store into user.find by email params email, which was not an existing user in my database. So nothing actually gets stored into this variable, and I'm trying to run an authenticate method on it. So how can I fix that? My code breaks on these two lines. What's that?
If you was on, instead of doing user.authenticate, you would just authenticate the password. Or is it, or actually,
It's a good guess, but not quite. Let's look at the error message. Maybe the error message will point out. It says undefined method authenticate for a nil class. I know you know.
so. What was the question again?
So how can I fix this bug, I guess? The error message that we're getting is very specific, right? It says that the method authenticate doesn't work for a nil class, meaning that what's right here is nil, right? And if I were just to check to see if that even exists, if user. That make sense? Do you have something to add, Brian?
Yeah, just, well, right, that works. Basically, if user does not exist, it stops right there because we're in it. And fails immediately as soon as it finds a false thing, and incidentally, or fails, succeeds immediately when it finds a true thing. It does not keep going. So we won't blow up on user authenticate because we never reach it. So we quit when we find user doesn't exist.
Looks like saying that there's an undefined method authenticate. Did you have a question?
Well, no, I looked back.
So we're just checking to see if user was even brought back, or if there's anything even in user. Right? So if this fails already, then this if block won't run because we're checking to see if user exists, which it doesn't, so it'll just immediately store that error message. So now we can just test for bad emails too. Not just bad passwords. Good passwords work. Cool.
So just at the end fix it.
Yeah, but do you see why?
Putting in the
Yeah.
user too. You put in the user.
Yeah, if user and user.authenticate. So if this evaluates to false, right, then it'll stop immediately and it'll just skip down to else, right? Right? Nothing, right? Because you can't find by email with no arguments, right? So this will store nothing, right? Cool. So this is a huge portion of you guys' exam, right? Logging someone in or registering someone to your website, logging them in, displaying flash messages. Usually for me, that's like a good hour of the exam. So I would practice this once or twice just to make sure that you guys got it down. It's also pretty much basically like, I guess it's just these two tabs.
Yeah.
But cool. Any questions so far? Or any, I guess that's it. Any questions?